Osuna. Let's get started sewing your skirt. Throughout the course of this video, I will be mentioning different seam allowance measurements. If you take a very close look at your machine, under the presser foot you will find the throat plate, as seen in this photo here where the red arrow is pointing. The throat plate is the silver metal square directly under your presser foot. If you look really closely, you will see seam allowance measurements. So all you'll simply have to do is place your guide against those lines based on whichever measurement you want, and you will be able to sew the exact seam allowance that I am speaking about. Let's identify our skirt pieces. On the wrong side of the skirt at the top in the center are pleat markings. That is our waist. And on the right and left side we have our side seam and our skirt hem down below. Once again, those pleat markings are only on the wrong side of our skirt, and they are also on the front of our skirt only. There are no pleats on the back. This is what the skirt looks like when it is folded in half, and that is how you will sew the front pleat. This is our skirt back. As we noted earlier, there are no pleats at the waist. But let's look at the parts. We have our waist at the top, side seams on the right and left, and our skirt hem on the bottom. Once again, this is our skirt front open, and you see the pleat markings at the top center. Now let's head to the machine and fold the skirt in half so we can sew the pleat. Make sure that you line the pleat markings up evenly, and with the fabric folded in half, place it underneath the presser foot so that you are slightly to the left of our pleat markings. Lower the presser foot lever. Turn the sewing wheel towards you so that the needle is in the down position. Stitch forward a few stitches and then back. Then stitch down the entire length of your pleat, of course adding another back stitch at the very end. Press the pleat flat and then open the pleat and distribute the pleat depth evenly, splitting half of it on the right and half on the left, just as you see here. Press once again at the very top and be sure to give a good amount of steam so that the pleat will hold in place until you get to the sewing machine for the straight stitch. Here's a sneaky little trick that we can do. If you fold the pleat depth to the right and iron only on the left side, it will take away the iron marks while still maintaining our pleat. See how we did that? Push the pleat depth to the other side, iron on the right side of the skirt only, and now you still can maintain your pleat without seeing the iron marks on the right side of the fabric. Now it's time to stay stitch the top of our pleat depth. Place your fabric under the presser foot, and you are going to lower the presser foot lever, turning the wheel towards you so the needle is down. Make sure you're adjusted nicely at the very beginning of that pleat, and you will stitch a few stitches forward and back, then all the way across the pleat depth, adding another back stitch at the very end. Turn the wheel so the needle's up, lift the presser foot lever, pull your fabric out, and cut your thread. Now it's time to zigzag the waist edge of our skirt front. A few stitches forward and back, and of course we are set on our zigzag mode, and continue across the waist. Notice that stay stitch helps to keep our pleat in place. As you get to the other side, get ready for your back stitch, and that'll do it. Let's have a good look at that zigzag right across the front at the waist. Go on ahead and give that zigzag a really good press. Now it's time to turn down the very top edge of our skirt 3/4 of an inch and press. You will do this across the entire waist of our skirt front. Now we will simply use our guide to sew a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance at the waist of our skirt. As you near the end, get ready for another back stitch. Very nicely done. Let's give our front waist a really good press. Just in case you were wondering why we press very often after we sew, it is because the thread and the fabric can melt together with the heat and steam of the iron, and that's what helps your clothing to look very professional. We're moving on to the skirt back. At the waist, we will start off by zigzagging. So place your fabric under the presser foot. Remember that it's slightly to the left of the edge of the presser foot. Lower the needle, a few stitches forward and back, and then zigzag across the entire skirt back at the waist. Now that we've finished zigzagging the waist of our skirt back, it's time to press. We're going to fold down 3/4 of an inch just as we did on the front. And we're going to give it a very good press. Now that we are almost finished pressing the skirt back at the waist, we are going to prepare to head back to the sewing table so that we can stitch it down. So again, we'll be using our guide to sew 5/8 of an inch for our skirt waist. Lower the presser foot, turn the wheel towards you so the needle goes down. Stitch a few stitches forward and then back. Now continue across the entire back of our skirt. Let's prepare 26 inches of elastic and a safety pin. You want to put the safety pin through your elastic and close it. Then you're going to grab the skirt back only and open the casing and insert the safety pin. You will be sliding the safety pin towards the left and pushing the fabric towards the right. Insert your elastic gently and continue pushing the fabric towards the right so that the safety pin will come out on the far left side. Make sure to leave an end of our elastic on the right and the left of at least 1/4 of an inch so that we can sew through all layers. Distribute the back waist evenly, and as you get ready to pull out your end, remember, don't pull too hard because we want to leave a tail on each end. That tail is going to be used to sew through all layers. So here we're distributing our ease, and on the right and left edges we're leaving 1/4 of an inch of elastic. Now we will prepare to sew that elastic. We will be straight stitching right at the far edge. This is 1/2 of an inch seam allowance. And as always, make sure to backstitch to keep our elastic in place. This looks really good. Now, trim the elastic evenly with your side seam, just like you see here. Now for the other side, remove your safety pin, but still leaving 1/4 of an inch of our elastic showing. Just as we did for the other side, we will stitch through all layers at the far edge. Lower the needle, stitch forward and back, and that will secure your elastic on both edges. Now trim. Now you can spread your elastic evenly one final time. That concludes the elastic for the skirt back. Now it's time to bring the skirt front and back together at the side seam. Making sure we have our right sides facing each other, let's go on ahead and line up our side seam. Place your fabric under the presser foot. Lower that presser foot lever, turn the wheel towards you, needle is down. Stitch forward and then back for your back stitch. And notice the fabric is at the edge of the presser foot. Go on ahead and stitch all the way down the length of our entire side seam. Of course, stopping to readjust, making sure the front and back are lining up evenly. Take your time as you proceed. And once you get down to the very bottom edge, of course, you guessed it, we are going to add another back stitch. This ensures that our clothing will stay sewn together and will not fall apart on us. The side seam looks good. Now it's time to zigzag. Make sure you've turned your machine to the BC stitch selector for our zigzag option. Notice the fabric is slightly to the left of the edge of the presser foot. Stitch forward and back, and then all the way down to the very bottom, adding another back stitch at the end. This seam looks great. Clip your thread. It's always a good idea to double, triple check to make sure you didn't miss a thread or two as well on the other parts of the skirt. Looks really good. Now let's zigzag our skirt at the hem. Place the skirt under the presser foot. This is one single layer, and the skirt is to the left of the edge of the presser foot. Forward and then back, and then zigzag all the way around the entire skirt hem. Once you're almost back where you started, take note to cross over the beginning thread and then add your back stitch. Great job. Now let's give our hem a 5/8 of an inch fold and press all the way around. This is kind of looking amazing. You're almost there. After we finish pressing, then it's going to be time to stitch our hem. I feel like that went by so quickly. Okay, pressing's all done. Let's head back to the machine. Using our guide, we are simply going to align our skirt at the edge of our presser foot so that we can sew a nice 5/8 of an inch hem. Turn the wheel towards you so the needle goes down. Stitch a few stitches forward and then back. And then all the way around the bottom edge of our skirt to secure the skirt hem. This hem looks so good. Let's go on ahead and give it a good press. That's it. That's the entire skirt with a pleat and elastic and everything. So cool. Your skirt is rockin'. Great job. Thank you so much for taking the time to join Sewing with me, Cori Osuna. I'd love to interact with you so that I can hear about and see some of the great things that you've been up to. I can be reached on Instagram at Coriosuna. Until soon, happy sewing!